talking about. They're not in winner's side yet, but there is still the possibility. Gauntlet, anything can happen in the Gauntlet. We haven't really had one, I believe, like for Wisconsin Smash in the past, but
Don't believe so.
But now that we have 2 days, we can make use out of it, and that's where the really crazy stuff ends up happening.
Yeah, and I believe that's okay. We are gonna get Grady money here as our last set of the block, and I love this set in particular. If you remember from last year in top 8 of Wisconsin Smash Summit, Gray had some things he needed to say during and after the set. Pretty much any break in neutral, he was doing the "is that all" Zero Suit taunt. He came out winning that set, and then we brought him onto the commentary booth after to ask him what was up, and he was going in on D Money about his habits. So obviously, a year makes a very big difference, where D Money has been very much on the upswing as a player, has had a lot of really great out-of-state results, a lot of great out-of-state wins. And Gray has been on the real-life grind. He has been on, on his salesman arc, so hasn't been playing as much. So I'm very curious to see how this set goes.
Yeah, I was talking with D Money a little bit, before the second prior to the set. He really hopes that actually Gray will pull out the ZSS to go against him. I'm not sure, at least, if he's D Money is someone who's always looking for a challenge. He is always looking for the top player to beat because he wants to add to his already very impressive resume. I couldn't really figure out from him if he wanted the ZSS because he was afraid of the Luigi, or he wanted to face Gray at what he considers to be his strongest.
And I don't even know if it's necessarily fair to say it's his strongest per se, whereas I think Gray is a co-main through and through, in my opinion, at this point, where there's very specific matchups he wants one character or the other. But as far as, Luigi Incineroar, it's a lot more aggressive, a lot more who's getting the big hit, whereas Zero Suit's a much more bait and punish matchup, a lot of weaving in and out, looking for the right positioning, the right opening. So it may just be based on personal comfort, but as you said, it may just be who D Money deems as his strongest form.
Yeah, and I'm not sure at least what goes in the mind of D Money, or the full extent of which characters or players Gray tends to go ZSS versus Luigi for. I mean, I will say we kind of talked about how they're so different. It's a very dangerous co-main situation as well, because they are so different, your opponent gets really thrown off if you ever even do decide to switch mid-set. Not necessarily something that Gray necessarily would do, but you never really know. It's always possible is the thing. That's the scary thing.
I'm trying to figure out what D Money's tag is. What is right for CMT?
I'm trying to think about that. I feel like I'd have to ask him.
I see the right and I go Phoenix Riot.
I don't know.
But either way, gonna be pulling out the Zero Suit to kick off this last set of our block, the final set of pools here at Wisconsin Smash Summit 3. Gonna be Grayson versus D Money.
And I believe, D Money so far has, won both of his other sets so far. So if he can, see this out, this should be, a 3-0 for him in his pool.
Yep. I think all this would do... Actually, I don't even know if this necessarily matters for seeding at this point, because both Ethan and Gray have a loss in the set in the pool already. This may help Gray's standing to get to the 2 seed, but he does have the head-to-head loss versus Ethan. I'm really not sure this one holds any weight at this point, to be honest, Riflip.
Look, I'm going to trust, however the Gauntlet configuration happens when Gauntlet's announced. Be sure to, pay attention, for when the Gauntlet's, seedings and the brackets for Gauntlet are actually announced. But for now, all these players still, they want to fight each other. They want to play the best of the best in Wisconsin. And these two players are some of the best in Wisconsin.
And as I was talking about earlier, there is, I don't know if bad blood is the right way to put it, but there is some animosity between these two when they play. And Gray just immediately get in there and rebuttal, kind of pull the rug out from under D Money there to take an early stock with that down B into the up B. But D Money immediately going to respond.
And a good response as well coming out from D Money. It was just a very quick bear. And now Gray trying to get a little bit of this damage, a little bit of these resets. And also, I'm noticing for the first time, we're on Battlefield. I've never seen the stage so far, even today, just in general. But I love Battlefield. This is a stage filled with shenanigans.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting starter for the match. You don't see it too often. Gray's going to love having those platforms to extend combos, but it also gives D-Money the opportunity to reset on those platforms. Incineroar likes to do those landing nairs onto the platform just to disrupt any advantage state. But so far, it's been all Gray.
Yeah, Gray has been doing a really good job of just waiting for those initial swings that D-Money has been going for. It's been a little bit of those air dodges, it's been a little bit of the dash ups, and even though they've been relatively light punishes, like forward tilts, for example, they've been really helping to put D-Money on notice and make him question a little bit of his rhythm as he's going along.
D-Money slowly but surely clawing his way back into the second stock, though, at kill percent, but a few more hits on his rear suit could be the stock. But Gray just carefully poking and prodding, but gonna perfectly time that back air to catch the bottom of that cross chop to take the second stock.
Gray's a braver man than me for challenging cross chop like that.
The down hit of it is very scary. It's definitely not as big, but if you mess up your timing, you are dead there.
Yeah. And now suddenly, Gray has been getting a lot of these resets off of these ladder combos. This is the strangest looking ladder combos I've seen in quite a bit, as now Gray, he's trying to get that final hit. We do know, especially on the small stage, that any sort of grab coming out from ZSS could put Incineroar into an offstage situation, just like that.
Escorting him across the stage, really using the platforms on Battlefield to their fullest right now is Gray. Just needs one more up B on the side to get it done, but D-Money trying to just get this second stock cleaned up. Off stage once again, gonna make its way back. Using the iframes from that flip kick to get through the cross drop.
Dude, you gotta use every single tool that you have. If you wanna beat D-Money, you have to pull out all of the stops. That's without question.
What? I have never seen the side B just push them away with no finisher. What a wacky finish, but Gray is going to clean that up and take that game one.
I talked about this with Agnes in my previous blog. I'm seeing some of the strangest hitboxes ever today. Hitboxes I didn't know existed, and that was one of the grimiest gimps I have ever seen. And good on Gray as well to recognize that, readjust, and then seal out the stock after the fact.
Yeah, flip kick ultimately sealing the deal there on that game one for Gray. Gonna be making our way over to Smashville this time. I think that makes a lot of sense. It felt like Gray, with more stage to work with, made it really difficult for D-Money to apply any meaningful pressure.
And now suddenly, that area where, Gray would want to be landing after throwing out that Zair, it's suddenly a lot smaller. You have a little bit of less space because you have to get beyond that platform, area in the center. So I'm curious, at least, how D-Money is really going to capitalize on that and at least, take advantage of Gray having a little less room to actually, use those Zairs as much as he would like to.
But that even start to this game, too, for both players. Gray starting to tack on that damage with that Zair. But D-Money probably going to be starting to try to go for some Alolan whip reads here that he hasn't really had an opportunity for yet. But again, going to have his cross shot disrupted by that Zero Suit back air.
It seems like Gray has really, never been, fell victim to a lot of D-Money's shield pressure. Gray has been doing as well a good job of where he's mixing up after he throws out those initial Zairs or throws out the initial pokes, whether he wants to disengage or kind of go in with another one of those quick poking moves, like that frame one jab or that flip kick after the nair.
And having less space also means that Zero Suit can more often than not escort you off the stage with a nair flip kick in a lot more positions on stage. And the counter pick coming back to bite D-Money a bit there. Finally getting a revenge, and it's going to be immediately shut down by that grab.
This looks like it could be the Gray show, all things considered. It's Gray. It just looks like he's taking advantage. Oh! And it feels like he's a little mosquito. He's dancing around this giant cat and just waiting for D-Money to swing. And he is so ready to take anything that D-Money gives him to the bank. 2-0. And I would say, even on D-Money's pick, that looked way more in the favor of Gray in that game number 2.
I think as D-Money are looking for a bigger stage just so you have opportunities to reset. And one thing that I want to talk about, especially after the dominance of that game too, Incineroar is a character where if you don't break their spirit, if they come into a set very confident against you, if you don't break their spirit, this is what happens. You're not afraid to make any decisions. You're not afraid of what Incineroar can do to you because nothing bad has happened to you. You haven't been hurt before. And Gray is playing with all the confidence in the world.
I feel like D-Money has done that to way too many people, as you said. And
Exactly.
But right now, Gray is not afraid. He wanted to look for possibly a dare. He wanted to assert his dominance even more than he already has. But now, the percent, though, is like, leaning a little bit more in the favor of D-Money just yet. But now, the advantage state seems to be starting. And yet, Gray is not willing to swing just yet. He is waiting for D-Money to make the first move. And Gray is always ready to respond as he is coming back in this game number 3 and piling on more damage on D-Money, even after what was relatively an even start.
Just doing those vertical juggles to a T, knows what his openings are, how far you can push it before having to reset. D-Money just looks very unsure in this advantage state right now, continues to eat up air after up air, has not been able to reset meaningfully, but finally has a corner pressure scenario here. And there's finally the first Alolan Whip, I believe, of the entire set that's connected.
And I mean, good on that Alolan Whip as well to take the stock. Cross chop out of shield, get at least like, Gray a little bit off of notice, but he does have the flip kick. Oh! We know. Derek's D-Money said when we were walking from the car, he said his new catchphrase is, embrace the cheese, embrace the 3 stock. As now D-Money up at 129%.
And this is where, once you start getting hurt, this is where the confidence can start to waver. Some of these games go like this against Incineroar, where it just does not go your way, but finally getting a berry on that down B to take the first stock. This has been all D-Money.
But now, how's the rhythm going to change? How's the tempo going to change between these two? Because now, Gray has been getting a lot of the resets, but now D-Money, he's flickering his shield a lot more. He's being a lot more stoic, a lot more stable in his current position on the stage.
Looking for another spike there, not going to connect. Gray down a full stock here, but just trying to slowly but surely inch his way back into the game. But a misgrab there is going to be a lariat and 20%. D-Money really just needs to get a couple more big hits to steal this one out and try to keep himself alive in this set.
Oh, the forward air not going to fully connect, but that is the dead D-Money. Yeah, he wanted to get a little bit closer to the stage because he didn't want to swing up there. Revenge when you're landing is Incineroar's best friend, but Gray was actually challenging him up higher than D-Money would normally expect. But the forward tilt and that game, it was initially in Gray's favor, and then D-Money just stormed back and took it, and making this more of a competitive set than we initially thought.
Oh, that looks a lot more like the set I was expecting coming in. I thought this was going to be a lot more back and forth, but Gray was playing immaculately in those first 2 games, so D-Money finally needed to right the ship at least a little bit to keep himself alive. We are going to go back to PS2. Gray probably felt like there was just a couple bad breaks in there that kept him from winning that game, which understandable, but you have to wonder why he wouldn't go to a smaller stage after how dominant he was on Smashville.
Yeah. We're not at least I can't hear what the players are saying. I don't know what the bans are, but I do at least agree about that. But sometimes it's also a matter of the Morton.
I guess that's why we're back to PS2.
Maybe that's D-Money just saying, I got away from some stuff and
got away with it. You mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
And it definitely felt like he robbed that game a bit with how some of the breaks happened there and there. But now you're on an even slower, you're on just as slow of a character with a little bit of better mobility in Morton. But I don't know. I don't know if this is really going to make that big of a difference in the matchup.
I don't know either. I want to see D-Money at least prove this, because switching characters is always a double-edged sword. That's always going to be the case, but especially if you're switching to a new one mid-set, you have to completely change your entire mode of thinking, some of the stuff that you're looking for, and just hope that your opponent doesn't adapt first before you even remember how to play, or at least how to change your play style.
It's been all Gray so far, only taking a couple of small hits, but gonna maybe get an up air conversion. They're gonna tag on some percent. But Zero Suit really just needs a backer in the corner to disrupt the clown card to get back on stage, but Gray is not forcing the issue. But now the rage starts to pile up for D-Money. If he gets the right ledge trap scenario, he could reversal this.
He's trying to get back, but he is at really high percent. This is going to be a regrab. He's going to get back to the stage though. As now Gray sitting at relatively low percent, even just a side B is going to claim this kill.
I was wondering what he was cooking, more staying to center stage there. He was just really trying to bait out the clown car there just to get D-Money to commit, but he's going to commit to a down air the wrong way, and that'll be an evening things back up. Ugh, that's really unfortunate for Gray.
Down air as well, going to land right on D-Money, but perfectly happy to respond with that up smash out of shield. Is now it seems like, D-Money has established a little more stage presence for himself. Gray is perfectly happy just, though, to take those few hits that he can get. Trying to get a little more of these, random hits. He's trying to get more of these airs, and now, air, back air not fully going to connect, and now, suddenly, his percents are relatively even, and now this feels like, this is the pivotal point in the set. Where is the rhythm going to go? Who's going to get the big initial hit at this point?
Gray seems perfectly content to just get the hits as they come, just a hit here and there, just a little bit of percent. He knows that if he doesn't interact up close with Morton, there isn't much that D-Money can do to approach, so he's perfectly content to just let this lead slowly but surely grow, and probably going to culminate and bear fruit with that back air.
That was such a nice little delay on the back air, just like letting D-Money just like sit in the shield for a little bit. Not sure if it was a drop of the shield, not sure if it's a shield poke. Either way, it got the stock.
And just getting back to work here is Gray, just tacking on a quick 30. It's going to take a lot more for D-Money to finish out this second stock, especially because that flip kick will just ignore a lot of those ledge trap scenarios where Morton could find an F smash. And again, Gray just so content to play nearly halfway across the stage and just get those hits as D-Money approaches.
And now here we have, D-Money at the ledge. Gray is looking for something that could seal the stock. This isn't there. This is a flip kick away from spelling the end of D-Money's set at this point. But now they're both looking for something. Gray, a little bit of stuff to get up D-Money off the stage. And now suddenly, a little bit of a funky clown card. Wanting to get back to the stage. Funky little downer as well. Hasn't really been panning out for Gray just yet. But now, not even going to kill off the top just yet.
Just an odd upward hitbox coming out on the clown cart peel out. Still living on this second stock is Gray. Off stage, does not have it jump, but he gets back. That stage spike is going to be untackable. So D-Money at least is bringing this back to a last stock. Back air not quite going to steal this out. But that fear factor can set in from Morton sooner than later if he can just get a little bit more damage in.
He is sitting on that ledge, but also Gray so cautious, but just letting the boost kick rip. Not going to kill just yet. This is across the stage. Aggressively past the ledge. Great decision coming out from D-Money. And now the up smash is from Gray. Gray wants to steal this out right now. He does not want to see this go to a game 5, and we're not going to see it. As Gray will seal out that stock. Seal out the stock. Seal out the game. Seal out the set. And also the wave. Let's go all the way.
He's using Flex Seal on everything. He's cleaning it up. Once that sets in, no one's getting through. He can saw a boat in half. He can reuse this Flex Seal on it, but Gray is done for the day, and so are we as far as pools for Wisconsin Smash Summit 3.